Be the Talk, episode 314, featuring Ricardo Sierra. Welcome to Be the Talk. We go behind the talk 7 days a week for tips and techniques to help you change the world. I'm Nathan Eckel, and a talker myself. I'm interviewing others who change the world with their talk. You can too, even if you've never given a talk before. Let's get started with today's show. We are live with Ricardo Sierra. Ricardo, are you ready to talk?
I am. Nathan, it's great to be here.
Ricardo Sierra founded the Hawk Circle Wilderness Camp in 1989 to help children and teens learn life skills through direct experience with nature. He believes that the disconnect of our children from nature is a powerful threat to our human species. Ricardo Sierra, welcome to the talk.
Thank you very much, Nathan. It's great to be here.
Your talk is called Saving Our iGeneration Children from Nature Deficit Disorder. And man, powerful, sobering statistics. Our kids are at risk. 6% of our kids are actually allowed to play outside on their own now. So the children of the 70s or the 80s, probably 100%. Now it's down to 6%. Everybody else is being helicoptered. And you go in your talk and talk about the loss of resiliency emotionally and socially, as well as just manual dexterity, that we're actually getting blisters and all kinds of things happening because we're not actually touching anything anymore. Please, Ricardo, take us behind the talk.
Well, this talk was it was pretty nerve-wracking for me because the issue of nature deficit disorder is such a powerful kind of threat, like, in a scary way to our culture and to our kids. And I really wanted to do it right. I knew I only had 13 minutes, 15 minutes. And so I really wanted to create a emotional impact with the viewers that were there and anybody watching down the road. And so I kept trying to really balance between, scaring people with the statistics, which are pretty frightening. And also I had to balance it with kind of an emotional story about what are the successes that, what are things we can do and where can we find success? And so the work that I've done for the last 30 years, teaching children about nature in wilderness settings and giving them nature education has, helped me to find solutions to some of what we're going through. But it's very difficult to communicate that in 13 minutes. So this was a really tough talk for me to kind of wrap my head around and then really try to have an impact. So that was a struggle. Yeah, well, Ricardo, bravo to you. I really applaud and salute you because, I mean, what you didn't just say is that really this isn't a talk out in your neck of the woods. Literally, this is a digital TED and TEDx and YouTube, and the whole medium is digital. You're talking to people that are stuck on their phone or looking at a screen, and that's the only way that they can hear the delivery. So it enhances kind of the irony in terms of that. And it also really demonstrates your extreme skill. I mean, I'm not going to call it complete mastery, but I'm going to call it amazing level of skill outside of your own neighborhood to go into a digital medium, go with all the parameters of a TED Talk, including the time limit, and really do some of the things you did. You had some really powerful sound bites. I know you mentioned you attributed that term nature deficit disorder to the person who, I don't remember who had actually come up with that, but those were the kinds of sound bites that you really need to kind of come out slugging, give us something provocative, and then actually give us real statistics. I mean, those are real statistics. You really, I felt like you really leveraged the medium very, very effectively. And yet it has to be a little jarring. And you did all of those things in the right proportion. And I'm sure it is because Talk Universe, because Ricardo took this so seriously. And so all that work, I'm just trying to say, I felt like it absolutely paid off for you. I think it did. It was nerve-wracking for me because I kind of started with a a number of different stories. I had a really great story right out of the gate, but then I ended up changing everything around about 2 weeks before the talk was scheduled. And I just had to cut things out, and it was frustrating. And I kept feeling like I wasn't going to do it justice. And so I did a lot of recording. I recorded myself over and over again, and and it forced myself to listen to myself and go, okay. The more I listened to myself, the more I was like, okay, this isn't maybe going to resonate. And I tried to, I wish I'd had like an extra week or two, because I think I could have incorporated slides that would have been effective. But, I just did the best I could. And I don't know, something must have been helping me, I don't know if it's divine guidance or whatever, but something seemed to help me feel really calm right before my performance, right before the event, that allowed me to really kind of hit my target. So I feel really fortunate about that.
Yeah.
So
well,
I have a lot to learn.
Well, I wonder if it wasn't just your sense of integrity and mission and cause, because these are, they're performances. You have to get up there and you have to perform. You have to, a lot of the performance is preparing and doing the exact kinds of things. I mean, Talk Universe, what Ricardo just said is exactly what we teach in the Get Accepted course. You've got to actually get on the same medium, not just the physical stage, but you've actually got to take out the very uncomfortable work, unless you do this, on your podcast week in, week out, like I do. But even I hate the way that I sound and look on the screen. And that's a universal thing. Ricardo had to get past it. And because he did, he was able to own this foreign territory of the digital screen as a nature analog, an organic guy. So congrats to you.
So yeah, I was so worried about how people were going to see me, and it felt like, they're going to stare at me, they're going to think I'm, overweight or whatever it might be, and I had to kind of just let that go and say, it's really about the mission. It's not really about me. I got to do the best I can to do right by these kids and by the parents and grandparents, and not make it focused about me. If anybody, and I know that if anybody does focus about it on me, that's really about them. So I had to kind of let that go. And that was hard. That was scary.
So this is amazing to me, because these are all the things. These are all highly nuanced things that we talk about in Get Accepted. And that's probably the number one thing. It's even harder to make this vulnerable and make it personal, really make it about you from a place of authenticity, and then pivot very quickly so that it's really about them. And Ricardo, you found a way to pull that off. And, that's why it's a great talk.
Thanks. Thanks. I appreciate it. It's one of the hardest things I've ever done. And I know that I have a lot to learn still too. So, I'm going to keep going.
Awesome. Ricardo, if you could just kind of summarize your mission and tell me a little bit more about what you do specifically in your wilderness camp, just so that I know of the kind of work that you're doing and what the format really looks like. Is it a traditional camp? Is it a summer camp? Is it kind of like a survivalist type of thing? What is it?
My summer camp it's a wilderness camp, but it's a way to kind of ease children into a connection to nature. So we have, cabins that kids stay in, and we begin by helping them really connect with each other. And we do survival skills like building a fire, making shelters, lots of crafts. It's very focused on what I call the natural advantage, which is, being in nature, learning skills, and then having opportunities to bond with each other and share our experiences and feel connected. Because with those three things are really what help us to feel connected as human beings to each other, like we have for hundreds of thousands of years. So that's really the main focus of the program. It's a week long, and it's a lot of fun.
Well, we've been enjoying this talk with Ricardo Sierra. His talk is called Saving Our iGeneration Children from Nature Deficit Disorder. And we're going to be right back with Ricardo in just a moment in the Blitz Round. Hey, Talk Universe. I hope you've been enjoying today's episode with today's guest. But you know what? Many people want more than that. Many people that listen to Be the Talk actually want to give a talk. And if that's you, you're not alone. Listen to the rest of this podcast. At the end, I'll have a free resource for you just for listening. And we're back with the Blitz Round. It is time for the Blitz Round with Ricardo Sierra. I'm going to ask him a series of either or questions related to the preparation and performance of his recent talk. Ricardo, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Were you invited to speak or did you apply?
I was asked to apply, and then when I applied, I sent in a video, and we had about 70 other people. So I found out later that, I kind of beat out a lot of other people with this mission. So I felt really fortunate to be able to be grateful for that. And the application process really helped to bring me, bring my talk into a clear focus. So it was really helpful.
Ricardo, what's a tip, tool, or technique that helped you?
Probably the best tip for me was recording myself and then listening to myself again and again. That was really key. And I also said my talk. I made a recording, and then I took a bunch of my friends and I put them in a group, a private Facebook group. And I said, please, anybody listen to my talk. Let me know what you think. And it was just an audio, and I got feedback from about 7 or 8 different people. Some of it isn't helpful. Sometimes they just go, that's the best talk you ever did. That's amazing. I love it. It's perfect, which is nice. But this talk, I got feedback from, very specific things where people said, hey, you lost me here, or it's slowed down. So that helped me kind of keep going. And it felt like I had a little bit of a fan club, kind of just giving me that feedback.
Absolutely. Well, Ricardo, were you an opener? Were you a closer, or were you in between?
My talk we had 6 talks, and I was the first talk after the break. So I was kind of in the middle, but it was right after the intermission. And so I kind of had to get the energy back up into the room. And so, it was a little bit, I don't know, it was kind of a little nerve-wracking to walk out there and everybody was fresh back. But, the whole thing was just a unique experience. So it was okay.
Yeah. What's your advice for other people that are the first to talk after a break and bringing that energy back, getting people focused back in the space?
I was lucky, they did have a host come out and kind of warm the audience back up. And then I walked out. The best thing that I did, and I could say maybe people could do, is just really try to make some eye contact with people in the audience. And, I guess jump right in and, have something that will engage them right out of the gate. So some kind of story or a saying or something that kind of captures their imagination. So
yeah, Ricardo, what was the most unexpected, strange, or just plain weird thing that happened during or right before your talk?
Well, about 2 minutes before my talk, the hosts for the event, one of them, he came over to me and he said, "Oh, how do you want me to introduce you?" And he wanted me to kind of like give him my bio. And that was the one thing that I was just like, I was not expecting this. I was really hoping to like come out there and remember to hit my marks right out of the gate. And, the fact that I had to tell him my bio and like kind of try to remember how do I want to be, talked about it drove me nuts. I was literally like, are you kidding me? But then I just was like, all right, whatever. This is what we're doing. So it was it was both frustrating and also probably in some ways maybe it was good because it kind of got me out of my head for a second.
Yeah, it sounded like you rolled with it in a good way. That would have driven me up the wall, because that's the kind of thing that goes into your application, or they ask for it well ahead of time. So that's right. A little bit unusual. That's why we have the Blitz round, to find some of these things out. We've been enjoying the Blitz round. We've been enjoying the Blitz round with Ricardo Sierra. His talk is called Saving Our iGeneration Children from Nature Deficit Disorder. You can find out more about Ricardo's work at hawkcircle.com or thewolverineway.com and connect with him there. You can also check out his talk, which is a great talk, on our website. We will have a link in the show notes page at BeTheTalk.com, as well as those websites to connect with Ricardo. And we'll be back with Ricardo Sierra in just a moment with the final word of advice. Hey, Talk Universe, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And if you want to give the talk to change the world, but you don't know how or even where to start, no problem at all. Go to BeTheTalk.com/get accepted for my new 5-day email course that'll show you how. Absolutely free. Just go to BeTheTalk.com/get accepted. We're back with Ricardo Sierra. What's the final word of advice?
In my mind, when it comes to this TED Talk format, is to just do the very best you can to really honor your listeners and really think about them, and to also know that, I watched a lot of TED Talks prior to doing mine. And, so you learn a lot by watching other people and seeing what you like and what you don't like. And, hire a coach if you have to. I mean, anything you got to do to do right by your mission or your idea is going to be a big help. And I would say my final word is get outside, take your kids outside, do some skills, do something fun, do something meaningful. And that's going to pay off big dividends down the road for sure.
Ricardo Sierra, thanks for coming on the talk today and sharing your wisdom with Talk Universe.
Thanks, Nathan. This has been really great.
Thanks for listening to Be the Talk. For tips and resources to help you change the world, go to BeTheTalk.com. See you tomorrow.